Okay, well, good afternoon. I want to again thank all of the state employees and local government employees, first responders, and certainly the utility linemen who have been continually working around the clock to maintain our roads and bridges and to restore our power. We are still experiencing and going to continue to experience some bitter cold temperatures, and that is not going to change for a while. Jay is going to explain that. As we are now a few days into this weather event, I want to make one thing very clear. The safety of all of our citizens here in Louisiana remain a top priority of mine and everyone standing behind me. The good news is that the rain and the sleet is gone. And also in the southern part of the state, we're reporting no major power outages. The bad news is that unfortunately in the northern part of our state, many of our citizens in central and north Louisiana are without power while they experience this bitter cold weather. We have approximately 120,000 somewhat out customers who are without power in Louisiana. Again, most of those are in central and north Louisiana, almost all of them are in central and north Louisiana. However, we have doubled the amount of vegetation and linemen to handle restoring the power in that area. That is important. The good news is because the southern part of the state hasn't been affected by power outages, that has allowed those utility companies in the southern part to send resources to the northern part of the state. So we are marshaling and moving those assets as we speak. However, so while these crews work to restore power, tonight, if you're without power, you need to take precautions and bundle up. It is going to be a bitter, cold night. We also want to continue to remind all of our citizens, especially in North Louisiana, to stay off the roadway in North Louisiana where roads are icy. I want to thank you all for listening over the last 24 hours. We really have not had any major auto accidents because people have heeded our advice and stayed off the road. So continue to stay off the road. We have numerous road closures. We've got about 1,500 DOTD personnel that have been deployed and are working right now to either make sure that dangerous roads are closed or roads that we can open are open. Just because a road is passable does not mean it's safe. So if you see people going slow down a road, I would continue down that road in a slow manner as well. We are standing up more warming centers as we receive those requests from the local parishes. Those warming centers are not kicking anyone out at night. We have cots for folks as well. I would again encourage people, if they have not downloaded the Get a Game Plan app, to please do so. If you have the ability to charge your cell phones or your electronic devices, keep them charged. Because again, you may have power right now, but as they work to restore power, they may have to turn the power off to bring that power up. Brandon with the PSC and Philip May are going to explain that in a bit. We are going to continue to urge you all to stay weather aware. If you're using a generator, use it safely. Continue to monitor official updates as we move through this week. Prolonged cold and potential power outages from this winter storm increases the risk of house fires. It increases the risk of house fires. Please be diligent and heed the warnings and the precautions that Brian Adams, our fire marshal, is going to go over in just a minute. Be very careful. I urge you again, be very careful around the use of heating devices in your home. Please use caution, again, when using those heating devices to prevent deadly fires. And also, we want you to be aware, especially if you're using gas-fired heating elements, to be mindful of carbon monoxide. It is a silent killer. LDH has announced 3 deaths so far, but we are tracking 3 additional deaths. Early indications show that there are 2 additional hypothermia deaths and 1 loss of oxygen. The hypothermia occurred in an apartment and 1 in a mobile home. So again, please, please, please check on your neighbors, your friends, and your families. Again, this is going to be bitter cold. If you do not have power or a heating source, you need to take precautions. It's going to be extremely cold tonight. Thank you to everyone, again, who continues to listen and stay off the roads, as I said earlier. And, as I explained, those deaths really are heartbreaking and tragic. And so our thoughts and prayers go out to their families and everyone that's been affected. This weather event, again, continues to be very dangerous, and we're urging you all to take these precautions. Don't travel unless it's necessary in North and Central Louisiana. Be cognizant of your heating sources and your generator use. We will continue to remain fully engaged, protecting life and supporting our communities throughout this event. Again, because we've had little power outages in the South, that's allowed us to double the amount of linemen that we can send up to North Louisiana to work. Our state emergency operations center is fully activated. GOSEP is coordinating with local officials, and contingency plans are in place. Just to give you some statistics, DOTD has already expended 3.2 million pounds of salt, over 75,000 gallons of brine. They've got over, as I said earlier, 1,500 personnel deployed. Louisiana State Police has 377 personnel activated, working right now, and an additional 525 on standby, with 214 support personnel performing other duties. LDH has 76 warming centers currently open. I think there are 14 warming centers that are pending open. Bruce will talk about those. FEMA has helped us pre-position assets, generators, water, and meals as well. We've approved the federal declaration for direct federal assistance. We're going to be asking the White House to grant us a major declaration, because we know we're going to have a tremendous amount of vegetation and debris to pick up after. The Louisiana National Guard is fully activated. They've got 118 available generators, over 140,000 MREs, over 600,000 bottles of water, and they've got 123 personnel currently working. DCFS has the Child Protection Hotline is remaining fully operational, and leadership and essential personnel are in place 24/7. Again, the fire marshal is going to talk to you all about fire safety. That's the thing that I would love to see. I would like to have no more house fires or fire-related events, and certainly no more deaths due to carbon monoxide or hypothermia. And with that, I would like to bring Jay up so he can kind of walk us through this week's weather.
Thank you, Governor. As you pointed out, Governor, even though we're done with the freezing rain, the sleet, and the snow, we're still a long way from being out of the woods in terms of the cold. The dangerous and potentially deadly cold will continue through the week. In fact, for today, a good bit of North Louisiana will not get above freezing. And tonight, temperatures will dive down back into the teens and maybe even some single digits across the northern tier of parishes. Central Louisiana will get down into the teens, and it could drop down all the way into the 20s, even for the coastal parishes tonight. So we're talking about a prolonged freeze that extends into the day tomorrow. Now, the sunshine is back. Some good news there. And tomorrow, we should get above freezing statewide, although the duration above freezing, particularly in the northern parishes, will be relatively short. It's another hard freeze for much of the state. Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, a prolonged freeze there, and we'll do it all over again Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Temperatures remaining below normal all week long, and in fact, we could see a reinforcing surge of Arctic air this upcoming weekend that could take North Louisiana back down into the teens for Saturday and Sunday morning. So the cold is clearly not out of the way yet. It's going to be with us for a while, and that means getting rid of that ice that lingers. That's going to be there for a number of days. For people without power, it's not just the outdoor temperatures. Indoor temperatures are going to get dangerously cold with this prolonged run of temperatures at and below freezing. So we want to make sure that folks across the state are ready and prepared for this prolonged run of bitterly cold temperatures. You may have seen the potential for some precipitation later this week, Thursday into Friday. Don't worry, it's not going to come in a winter form that's going to add to the icing we already have, but just be prepared and aware that it could develop on Friday. I think it all comes as rain, though, all in a liquid form, and again, won't add to the problems that we have out there right now. Now, with even temperatures below freezing, sunshine will generate some melting each and every day. That's some good news, but we want to remind you that while roads may clear up a bit during the midday and afternoon hours, while that melting is going on, some of that liquid could run out onto the roads and create new icing conditions for that early morning drive. So be extra aware and cognizant of the threat there for those morning commutes as you begin to work your way out the door. And of course, these melting and power outages as we get farther into the week, more likely to create additional infrastructure and water pressure issues as we go through the week and towards the upcoming weekend. And so, in summary, to repeat what the governor has already mentioned, we want everyone out there to remain weather aware, and maybe just as important, we ask you to be extra patient. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jay. Glenn Leday, Secretary DOTD. As the governor mentioned, we continue to ramp up operations to post-storm recovery. We've got over 1,500 personnel statewide working to help recover. We've got personnel, as the governor mentioned, assets that we're bringing from the south and moving those north so that we can continue to support really everyone north along that I-20 corridor. Really what our crews are doing now, we're trying to break up that ice in these northern parishes. We're treating that. Luckily, we had the largest inventory of both brine and salt in the state's history, and so that went a long way. As the governor mentioned, almost over 3.3 million pounds of salt have already been delivered and over 75,000 gallons of brine. We continue to treat those roads over the coming days. As Jay mentioned, as that ice continues to thaw, we'll continue to get that precipitation off the roads to keep them safe in these coming days. In addition to that, we're working closely with PSC and the energy companies to clear the roads. We've got crews deployed all over North Louisiana helping to remove tree debris to allow that power to be restored. And so those continue to be DOTD's primary focuses, is improving these roadway conditions, getting all state roadways open, and making sure they're safe for the traveling public. In general, as the governor mentioned, please stay off the roads, but if you have to travel, if necessary, please look out for our crews and the emergency response crews. Please drive slowly. And again, if there are roadways that are closed, remember it's unlawful to go around these barricades, and so please be cognizant of that. As roadway conditions change, please look at our website, 511la.org, and our app, 511LA. As conditions change over the coming days, as Jay mentioned, please look at the roadway conditions and any changes there. Thank you. I'll turn it over to State Fire Marshal.
Thank you, Secretary Leday. So I'm going to talk a little bit about heating safety, and we've talked about that continuously over this event and in previous. So we are currently investigating our 13th fire fatality of the year, which is just, unprecedented for us this quickly through January. So I'm going to talk a little bit about heating safety. If you have power and you're using space heaters, you want to keep those space heaters 3 to 5 feet away from anything that could catch on fire. Blankets, spreads, curtains, all those other things that you may have in your room. If you're going to use a fireplace tonight because you don't have heat, You want to try to turn it off before you go to bed. You don't want to have an open flame. You don't want to have open candles. You want to make sure you turn those things off, cover up with extra blankets if you have that, opportunity to cover up with those extra blankets. Again, the space heaters, you want to make sure that you unplug those. If you're using them, plug them directly into the outlets, not into extension cords or other surge suppressors, because they are not made for those. If you have a working smoke alarm in your home, and I hope you do, make sure before you go to bed tonight you check that. Push that test button and make sure it works. Again, we want to make sure that you understand that those heating safety issues are very important and very critical to make sure that you make it out of your home tonight if something happens. Thank you, boss.
I'm Bruce Greenstein. I'm the Secretary of the Louisiana Department of Health. I've got a couple of data points that I want to share and then some safety tips that I really hope everybody will follow. Let me just start out by thanking the governor for his strong leadership and starting out as a way to think about when we were together on Thursday, the governor implored all Louisianians to stay off the road when it was unsafe. And today we are very proud that there has been no major disasters or fatalities on the road. Yet we have seen 2 hypothermia deaths that we've reported and sourced, and 2 more that we're following up on and will be reporting soon. We think that the hypothermia deaths are avoidable. We really implore you to basically take care of yourself and take care of your neighbors. It's part of the 4 Ps, the first one being people. We're calling out warming shelters today. We have 76 warming shelters / centers open right now, with 14 on the way. We're tracking specifically in the 11 parishes with the highest percentages of power outages. There are multiple shelters in 10 of the 11 parishes, with the last parish that will be open hopefully by the end of today. The warming centers and shelters are only as good as they're being used. We have a fair amount of foot traffic, but there's plenty of access and availability today. You can spend the afternoon there. No one is asking anybody to leave. If you have to stay overnight because where you live is dangerously cold, then I implore you to please use it and stay in the warming shelters. I want to talk about another death that we announced earlier today, and that is for someone that had succumbed to carbon monoxide poisoning. This, again, is an avoidable death. I want to read some specific safety tips and then be very clear. First of all, carbon monoxide is an odorless, colorless gas. The governor referred to it as an invisible killer. Carbon monoxide is present when fuel is burned in engines, furnaces, and open fires. Fuels that can produce carbon monoxide when burned include gasoline, wood, coal, natural gas, propane, oil, and methane. The risk primarily is from when we're seeing generators being used in or very close to the home. So in the death that we reported today, the gentleman succumbed to carbon monoxide poisoning because the generator was running inside of a garage. A garage is not far enough away from the home to run it safely. It must be very clear, at least 20 feet away from the home to run your generator safely. With the number of power outages that we have right now, again, I'm imploring everyone that's using generators outside the house at least 20 feet away. Lastly, I want to talk a little bit about where we're at with water systems. We track and regulate, monitor, and help water systems around the state. And to put where we're at today in context, we have 48 systems that are affected. That's either outages or boil water advisories. In 2021, the ice event, we had around 400 systems that were impacted. In 2025, last year for the snow event, it was 150. And as I mentioned, today we're at 48. But given the cold weather that we're expecting to see, we expect those numbers to go a little bit higher. If you go to Get a Game Plan, you will see tips on ways to make sure that your home is safe. You're protecting pipes, again, one of the 4 Ps. And we want to make sure that you keep the water in your home safe. And again, our local officials are doing a great job of keeping water systems up and running at the local level. That's all I've got for now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Brandon Fry, I'm Secretary with the Public Service Commission. I think y'all can see the map over here as well. That's our utility outage map, current as of noon today. So I'm going to give y'all some numbers of where we peaked as a state, but also per utility, where we are now as of noon. Those numbers are dropping even as I'm doing the report. So we reported a total peak outage late last night, I guess yesterday afternoon, of about 151,000. However, that didn't account for some of the utilities who lost power earlier and brought it back on before the peak occurred in the northeastern part of the state. The outages went from southwest to northeast as the rain moved through. So we actually had a total peak of 175,000. Utility specific, Beauregard Electric, which would be in Vernon, Beauregard Parish, peaked at about 3,700. They're 100% restored now. Claiborne Electric in Claiborne Parish peaked at 650. I've got 187 now. Clico, which would be Grant, Natchitoches, Red River, I guess parts of Wynn as well. That central part of the state peaked at 23,900. They're down to about 5,100. Concordia, which is in not just Concordia, but a little bit of Catahoula and LaSalle as well, peaked at 2,600. They're at 1,500 now. Energy, which has the Ouachita, Jackson, Wynn, and then up into Richland, the West and East Carroll parishes, where we had the most icing, peaked at about 92,000. We're at about 84,000 now. Northeast Power, which is in, I think, mainly Morehouse, but they come down a little bit into Richland as well, peaked at 8,000, and they're at 7,400. Again, the areas where we saw the most icing are having the slowest restoration. Panola Harrison, which is in DeSoto and Sabine, peaked at 2,600, and they're about 1,000 now. And finally, SWEPCO, which is Caddo, Bossier, Webster, down into Red River, DeSoto, peaked at about 42,500, and they're about 24,500 now. So the total number is down to about 120,000, as the governor said, from that peak of 175. When we spoke last year during the hurricane, I like to look at historical events for comparison purposes to put these numbers into perspective. So for Hurricane Francine, we peaked at 400,000. We had two severe weather events when the governor first started. You remember those in April and May of 24. One of those was 208,000. So we actually, from a one-day severe weather event, it occurred peak outages considerably higher than what we're seeing here. That doesn't mean it's going to be easier for the restoration. Obviously, there are struggles here that we don't see in those type of outages. You've heard about the road issues. We can't thank DOTD enough. There's been incredible coordination, Glenn, with all the utilities clearing the roads, and that's where the issues are coming from. This is the large majority of the damage that we're seeing from every utility is tree damage. Trees are taking down lines. Trees that are weighted down from the ice are falling into the existing right-of-ways and taking the lines down with them. I do have some general restoration times for the three major utilities, which would be Clico, SWEPCO, and Energy. Clico is anticipating the bulk of its system being totally restored tomorrow. There's going to be a lot coming on tonight, but that's the best case scenario. I say best case. That's actually a little bit of a conservative estimate. SWEPCO also anticipates the majority to be restored tomorrow. Some will linger into Wednesday, predominantly in that Red River, DeSoto, Natchitoches area. And Energy is also anticipating about 90% by Wednesday. All of these utilities are going to be providing us some more granular analysis. It typically takes time for them to get out there and do their assessments. So as we get those assessments, we'll be able to push out parish by parish specific information. We are going to work with LDH and ensure that any of these warming shelters that need power or any additional locations are put on the priority list. And finally, for more granular update for Energy and some of the concerns, I know the governor alluded to this about power coming on in winter is a little bit different than from a hurricane because of the heat strain that puts on the system from a heater. And while you'll have some outages go back out, but Philip will explain that in Energy's restoration efforts as well.
Thank you, Brandon. Good afternoon. I'm Philip May, President of Entergy Louisiana. First of all, I want to make sure we clarify what the anticipated restorations are. We are planning to have 90% of our customers that have access, where access issues are not a challenge, and that's primarily along the I-20 corridor, for instance, Ouachita Parish, 90% on Wednesday. For those customers that we're having challenges on access and more severe damage, we anticipate having 90% of our customers restored by Thursday. I just want to emphasize 90% means that most of those customers will be restored before that. It also means that some customers will linger on into a few more days if they have very significant damage. And those customers that have damage to their home, they have to be able to take power, so you may need an electrician because the vegetation has pulled weatherhead and some of the electric equipment away from home. I want to note on the cold load pickup issue. Following a hurricane, there's oftentimes very big gains we can have right after a hurricane because once you clear the line, you can turn the power back on and it gets rolling right away. In the winter, when you have extreme load conditions, you have to do things on a sectional basis. So we will go sometimes block by block, put a section on, we wait until the appliances come on, the heaters come on, make sure that that fuse holds, then move on to the next section. So the point of that is you won't see these big chunks of load coming on like you see after a hurricane. That's going to be slow, it's going to be methodical, but we do have people out there that are actively working the process. We have seen extreme damage due to ice accumulation, particularly in that corridor along the I-20 and then moving up to that northeast portion of the state. We have seen evidence of ice accumulation as great as 1 inch or greater, and that has created a lot of challenges for our system. We do appreciate Secretary Leday and the cooperation we've had with the DOTD because that's an important factor on gaining that access so we can get to those places where we see the damage and make repairs. Entergy has a force of 3,300 people working on the storm and will continue to work until all power is restored. Governor?
Okay, just to wrap this up, first of all, for everyone in Louisiana, pipes, pets, plants, and people, make sure you're checking on your neighbors. A couple of major takeaways. We really would like to not have anyone else die of carbon monoxide poisoning or anyone lose life or property due to fires. If you are using supplemental heat, if you're using an electric heater or a gas furnace, or again, 3 to 5 feet, that means this much from tip to tip. Look at it, say, okay, here's my heating source. Is there anything nearby that could catch on fire this far away from here to here? That will help you. We want you all to stay safe. If you're in Central and North Louisiana, I would again urge you to stay off the roads. Those of you in South Louisiana, I think all of our roads are open and are pretty much safe. At night, it's going to dip into the freezing, hard freeze, as Jay said. So in the morning, when you get on the road, just use a little extra caution. Don't get in a hurry. The state offices are going to open tomorrow, except for those in Central and North Louisiana. So again, the morning commute, take your time. I don't think anyone's going to punish anyone for a little tardiness tomorrow. Be very careful on the roadways. But again, I would urge you, take precaution when supplementing heat. If you're in North Louisiana and you do not have power, and you also do not have heat, you need to find somewhere to go. Don't think, oh, the power may just come on at midnight. It is dangerously cold over the next couple of nights. Find somewhere warm to go. So again, I want to thank all of the citizens who've listened to us and helped to stay off the roadways. I want to thank all of the local and state employees who've been working around the clock. I know it's cold out there. We really do appreciate it. I know our citizens appreciate it. It's what's going to help us get the power on as quickly as possible. I want to thank our utility companies for marshaling the resources necessary to try to get power to our citizens as quickly as possible. Also, let's be patient with the power. As Philip explained to you, it takes time to bring those loads on. With that, we'll take any questions anyone might have. Yes, sir.
So I have a question about cars. So I learned today that if turn on a car when it's freezing and someone immediately puts the defroster by the windshield on very high, it could actually cause the windshield to maybe crack. Could someone kind of speak about what's the best way to do that?
Well, I would think that warming your car up, no, I'll probably get myself in trouble. No, days you go outside, you turn the car on, and you kind of let it just warm up real slowly, and then you come back and you get in the car and you can drive away. That's what I would tell you, especially if you've got ice on your windshield. You know, if you give yourself a little extra time, I think getting up in the morning, turning your car on, you know, kind of slowly turning it, let it just warm up, and then making your way on the roadway is probably the best way to do it, because again, you could have some ice accumulation on your windshield. Again, you want to make sure the defroster works. It's going to be, I appreciate that question, bitterly cold, so that windshield is extremely cold as well. Yes, ma'am.
I know your focus right now is weather, but could you give an update on border control operations across the state of Louisiana, specifically Carolina Crunch, and where that stands?
Yeah, look, right now we're focused on making sure that people are safe. We're making sure that people get power back on. We are making sure that we clear our roadways. Right now, the safety of the citizens of this state are my top priority.
We're only taking on-topic questions, so. Can you clarify how many hypothermia deaths there have been? Was it 4 or 5?
Bruce, it's 2. Yeah. Well,
We've confirmed 2 so far. They've been reported already, and we're tracking. There are 3 additional deaths that we're tracking. It appears that from the coroners that an additional 2, so this would be 4 total, are hypothermia as well. What makes this the additional 2 interesting is they both were in their own homes. One was in a mobile home, and the other one in an apartment. And again, I'll just implore everyone to use our warming centers and warming shelters, especially for overnight, like tonight. It's really, really important for those, especially with complex medical issues or vulnerable populations, really go in to use the shelters.
Governor, we saw some severe damage in Oxford, Mississippi. Are we sending any resources to our neighbors?
Right now, no, we're trying to extend all of our resources to getting our citizens back on. I will tell you that the damage you saw in Oxford, from what I can tell, I was on the phone all day today with officials up, especially in the northeastern part of the state, that the damage in Oxford is similar to the damage that we're seeing in West and East Carroll and in Richland Parish and in Ouachita. So right now, we're going to take care of our citizens. Certainly, as assets become available, we will send them to our neighbors. Thank you.
Hey, the governor of Oklahoma released a statement as the head of the National Governors Association today, I believe, saying that he believes and the members of the NGA believe there should be a reset on immigration. Are you in agreement?
Well, again, Julie, I'm happy to answer those questions and others as soon as I get all of our citizens out of danger. And so give me a couple of more days, and if Jay can give me some good warm sunshine, I'll be more than happy to address that question.
If anyone has on-topic questions, we'll
Yeah.
take
I
one.
have a question for the state fire marshal's office. You talked a little bit about I think you said 13, was it fatalities from fires? Can you talk a little bit about the free installation of smoke alarms?
Yeah, so a program called Operation Save a Life, where we distribute smoke alarms to any citizen in the state of Louisiana who requests one through their local fire department. And we're happy to give them an alarm, and the fire department will go out and install it for them.
Okay, last but
Okay.
on topic.
All right, one more.
Bruce, can you, Greg Hilburn is reporting that the water is out in Monroe. I know you addressed this, but are there like big water systems that are out, and do you have an idea of where they are?
I can't explain the degree to which water is out for the entire parish, but I do know that we're working with St. Francis Hospital right now, which is experiencing a loss of water pressure. And this is not an internal system issue as it's being reported, but there's a city issue. And so we're tracking it very closely and supplying as much assistance as we can. But we're hoping that within an hour, we'll have restored water pressure within the hospital, and then I hope that that extends to the rest of the parish.
And Julie, let me say, that's actually a great question on topic, because here's why. It is really a great question and something that citizens should be aware of. As pipes thaw out, right, and people, and we start to recognize both residential and utility water pipes, we'll see where they failed, right? So right now, if they're frozen, We don't know if they're going to leak. But as it thaws out, they'll start to leak, which will bring the water pressure down, which could create boil advisories or could create low pressure problems as well. And so that is something that we should be prepared for throughout the duration of this event.
All right, last one. Can you talk about, you're looking for an emergency declaration from the White House? What does that allow for? Are you hoping for any financial reimbursement?
Yeah, look, we're in discussions with FEMA. We recognize, as one of the questions alluded to Oxford, Mississippi, and the damage over in Mississippi, which is similar to the northeast section of the state as well. We're seeing, and what we anticipate is huge debris fields that need to be cleaned up. A lot of vegetation has gone down. And so we would need to add to the current declaration that the president has already extended to us, which we are very grateful to both him and Secretary Noem. FEMA has been on the phone with us consistently, but we're going to be urging them to extend that to a major declaration, which would really give us some reassurance that as we start to remove the amount of debris, because some of these parishes are extremely rural parishes that are going to need some help. And so we're going to be working with FEMA and the White House for that. I'm sure that Governor Reeves over in Mississippi is going to do the same, and Bill Lee up in Tennessee as well. Okay. All right. Thank you. Stay safe and warm.